Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for tuning in. This is going to be an extremely important segment. I'm going to give you everything you need to know to understand why Bruce Ohr's testimony is the key moment in debunking the entire conspiracy theory. And I'm going to give you reputable sources, links to these sources. I'm going to give you all the public record evidence pointing to a fabricated narrative, a true conspiracy theory. That's what a conspiracy theory is. It's unsubstantiated fantasy based on a complete lack of evidence. So before we get to the Steele Dossier and Bruce Ohr's role in disseminating and being an intermediary or a back channel between his wife, Nellie Ohr, Fusion GPS's Glenn Simpson, Christopher Steele, a dossier purchased by Hillary Clinton, and the FBI and James Comey, I'm going to read you something very important. The genesis, the basis for all of this, ladies and gentlemen. To my super chat, by the way, thank you so very much. You give me every incentive and reason to keep rocking these live streams. Almost 400 people in 1 minute. It's going to be fantastic. Now, we first start off with the intelligence community. You've heard the intelligence community. No doubt Bruce Ohr has brought up the intelligence community, or brought up the IC, the intelligence community, during his testimony. There are two reports from the United States intelligence community, $30+ billion for the NSA, the FBI, and the CIA. That's the combined budget. The CIA and the NSA, the CIA and the FBI are highly confident because you had James Comey and John Brennan, who hate Trump with a passion. The NSA is moderately confident, but let's just go ahead. Here you go. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Federal Bureau of Investigation actual link. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. That is, I just sent the link. So this could be an interactive segment, especially for the people who have the upload, who get the upload. It's all there. I will go ahead and give everyone links to what I read. So, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Homeland Security. Disclaimer. Why would a report explaining a crime have a disclaimer? There is no disclaimer when a detective says, oh, well, the deceased person is over there, and we have to look at the crime scene. No, there's an actual victim. That happened. When a murder takes place, a crime happens. When bank robbers rob a bank, you can see, money was taken, and from the camera, people go in, they break into the bank. Okay, the DNC hack. Okay, the DNC never gave its servers to the FBI or NSA. They relied on CrowdStrike, another company that was outsourced by Hillary Clinton. A fact. Now, I just sent you the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and FBI report. I've quoted this numerous times, endless times in my uploads and my streams, but here, disclaimer. This report is provided as is for informational purposes only. The Department of Homeland Security does not provide any warranties of any kind regarding any information contained within. This is very important, ladies and gentlemen. This is the genesis of the conspiracy theory. You cannot state you can't state categorically that something happened or something took place if the investigators don't even know A, what took place, and B, can't even say with certainty that a crime was committed. They can go ahead and say we believe it happened. We're almost certain it happened. They don't even know how. They don't know whether it was a leak or a hack. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead right now, and let's go ahead right now. And look, the Department of Homeland Security does not provide any warranties of any kind regarding any information contained within. In other words, it doesn't provide any warranties. In other words, anything that is stated within the intelligence report, they're not going to back up, so you can't go ahead and sue the federal government. You can sue BuzzFeed, which people have done. You can sue Fusion GPS, which people have done. You can sue Christopher Steele, which people have done, for actually perpetuating information that cannot be corroborated. So it's big difference when people say, look how corrupt Trump is. They're like, well, Manafort, well, how come all these people are criminals around Trump? Well, yeah, you're finding out what they've done years before they met Trump. Imagine if you could do that with Uma Abedin. Imagine if you could do that with Anthony Weiner, even adding on to what he already has with the laptop and emails on a laptop, classified emails. We just found out from the Daily Caller that all of Clinton's emails were hacked by China. That Louis Gohmert talked about the Inspector General Charles McAuliffe notified the government of, and Peter Strzok let that pass. So again, I cannot state, there's no way to emphasize enough this report. Disclaimer: Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Homeland Security. This report is provided as is for informational purposes only. As is, okay? The Department of Homeland Security does not provide any warranties of any kind regarding any information contained within. Really? So you're not certain of anything. Okay. DHS does not endorse any commercial product or service referenced in this advisory or otherwise. Why on earth would the DHS and FBI be referencing any commercial service? O.J. Clinton, the best in America in one name. Maybe Trump beating Hillary has been confused for a domestic matter. I'm not certain how to say that, but O.J. Clinton, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. This document is distributed subject to standard copyright. Information may be distributed without restriction. Okay. So again, DHS does not, the Department of Homeland Security does not provide any warranties of any kind. Okay, so you have a situation where there's no warranties of any kind. Okay? Now we have, so I gave you the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Homeland Security. That is one of two of the major intelligence reports. The DHS and FBI report, I just read you the disclaimer, and that's on the first page. On page 23 of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence report, the James Clapper report, that takes in information from the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA, and then filters, and they all report to ODNI. So James Comey and James Clapper compiled, and Admiral Rogers, who's moderately confident, they were never certain. The CIA and FBI were never certain. We know from the FBI and DHS report. And Jay Johnson of the DHS Department of Homeland Security under Obama stated, well, he doesn't know. He has no idea why the DNC never gave its servers to the FBI or anyone in the U.S. government. So we're going to really, really break it down this segment. And I'm going to give you everything you need to know. And go ahead and share this segment with anyone who believes this nonsense, because it's not. It is a conspiracy theory that's pushed by mainstream media without any evidence of anything. And the evidence states that they're not certain about anything. There's no evidence. So the public record shows everyone that there's actually no evidence. So here, this is the ODNI report. This is page 23 of the PDF. I'll go ahead and I'll give you that right now. I'll go ahead and I'll give you that right now. That's the ODNI link. These are all reputable links. Okay? Estimative language. If you go to page 23, you can go to page 23 right now. Estimative language consists of two elements: judgments about the likelihood of developments or events occurring at the level of confidence in the sources and analytical reasoning supporting judgments. That in English is called manure or bandini. But here's the best manure you can ever find. Judgments are not intended to imply that we have proof that shows something to be a fact. Assessments are based on collected information, which is often incomplete or fragmentary, as well as logic, arguments, and precedents. An assessment is not an absolute conclusion. An assessment is a nicer way of saying your opinion. So estimative language consists of two elements: judgments about the likelihood of developments or events occurring, and levels of confidence in the sources and analytical reasoning supporting the judgments. So I give you the links to, and I gave you the links to the ODNI report. I work from reputable sources. I don't pull things from out of my behind. Everything I tell you is from reputable sources that you can look up on your own. It's public record. The public record shows that estimative language. So this is the ODNI report saying that WikiLeaks and Trump and Russia worked together, and oh my goodness, and they were working to influence the election, and poor Hillary Clinton. People knew that the DNC was cheating Bernie, and then, oh my God, this is going to relate to Facebook ads, and there was a concerted effort to hurt Hillary. Why? We have no idea, but we can only imagine that Putin liked Trump more, even though there's no explanation as to why President Obama did not veto. He was the only one who could have vetoed, and that's a fact, the uranium deal. The Democrats sold 20% of U.S. uranium capacity, and yet Putin is scared of the Democrats. He's scared of Clinton. How does that work? That's absurd. But I will read you again. So you have the link. You have the link. Estimative language consists of two elements: judgments about the likelihood of development or events occurring, and levels of confidence in the sources and analytical reasoning supporting the judgments. This is the key part. Judgments are not intended to imply that we have proof that shows something to be a fact. So they're saying we judge Trump to be a criminal. Oh, by the way, judgments are not intended to imply that we have proof that shows something to be a fact. We've judged Trump to have worked with Russia and WikiLeaks. Oh, but by the way, Annex B. Judgments are not intended to imply that we have proof that shows something to be a fact. That's called lying. This is a very, very sophisticated way of simply lying to your face and giving people something to believe in who cannot possibly fathom Trump defeating them. Now, high confidence is the best level of assessment here. I have spoken about this before, and it's very, very, very important. Okay? But high confidence is the highest level. Bruce Tamazuski, thank you so very much. I didn't see. Sometimes I might not see everyone, but when I do, I will definitely give you thanks, and So, and to my super chat, thank you. You give me, all the incentive to keep rocking these live streams. High confidence it generally indicates, so they're highly confident WikiLeaks worked with Russia. They're highly confident Trump worked with Russia. They're highly confident of collusion, that Russia hacked the DNC. They're highly confident all of these things hurt Hillary. They're highly confident. Well, how do we know? Because John Brennan and James Comey made sure that he gave James Clapper, all three hate Trump with a passion, a whole lot of confidence. So when John Brennan was leaking all this information to Harry Reid, of all people, he didn't leak the information to his boss. It wouldn't even be leaking to his boss. He had to report to his boss. Who was his boss? President Obama. His boss was not Harry Reid. Harry Reid is nothing to John Brennan. Harry Reid is nothing to John Brennan. Yet John Brennan went to Harry Reid. Why? Because it was an overt setup of Trump. It was an overt setup. High confidence generally indicates that judgments are based on high quality information from multiple sources. Here's where the Bandini and the manure and the excrement and the verbal refuse reach maximum gaslighting. High confidence in a judgment does not imply that the assessment is a fact or a certainty. Some judgments might be wrong. This is in the ODNI report. This is $30 billion of American taxpayer money. There you go. It's right there. High confidence in a judgment does not imply that the assessment is a fact or a certainty. Such judgments might be wrong. John Brennan stated that he doesn't do intelligence, or he doesn't do evidence. He does intelligence. Again, John Brennan stated that he doesn't do evidence. He does intelligence. So how on earth, if you're talking about people who are making claims and they're saying that they don't do evidence, they do intelligence, you have a problem there. So let's see if I can go ahead and get that clip. Here's the actual clip. You can hear Brennan say,
did you find direct evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Putin in Moscow while you were there?
Mr. Rooney, I never was an FBI agent. I never was a prosecutor, so I really don't do evidence. I do intelligence.
They didn't even have evidence at the FBI. The prosecutors weren't given evidence of how Hillary Clinton transferred top-secret intelligence from SIPRNet, JWICs, and SCIFs, classified top-secret special access program intelligence, Brian Pagliano and others, and Hillary Clinton transferred, at the request of Clinton, transferred top-secret and special access program intelligence from SIPRNet, JWICs, and SCIFs. We don't know how, because Peter Strzok did not look at the evidence. The evidence showed that her server was hacked. Louis Gohmert and the Daily Caller both have confirmed that. I will do a segment a little later on that. My books about her top secret emails, but her deleted emails, explain the background of all of that. That's why in But Her Top Secret emails there are over 100 5-star reviews, under 115 5-star reviews. But here, let's just listen to that again. Here's the link. Here's the HuffPost link. Okay? Here's the HuffPost link. And I don't, I'm pretty low tech. I don't share screen or anything, but I'm giving you the links so you can go ahead and look at them yourself. So that's the HuffPost link. Let's look at that again.
Did you find direct evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Putin in Moscow while you were there?
Mr. Rooney, I never was an FBI agent. I never was a prosecutor, so I really don't do evidence. I do intelligence throughout the course of my career.
It's okay. They don't do evidence either, John. They don't do, I don't do evidence. I do intelligence, which means no evidence. Don't you see how intelligent I am? Don't you see, if you even knew the weight, the burden of what I know that you don't know? I don't do intelligence. I don't do evidence. I do intelligence. That pretty much, he's pretty much telling you the truth. He's lying. but he's telling you in a sophisticated manner. Oh, and the Democrats are fantastic. Like, wow, you mean intelligence, meaning like, you know, oh, wow, he's so into the I Spy espionage world where he's just going on hints and tips because, you know, this is like a James Bond movie. No, it's not. You can go and you can look at the Gulf of Tonkin, 9/11, WMD, the Arab Spring, the Trump Russia, Wayne Lockwood, all of them thrust the country into madness, and yet no evidence. Or they just prove to be wrong, like the Gulf of Tonkin and WMD. Wayne Lockwood, I'm not a rocket surgeon, but I have high confidence. It's time to prosecute. This would be so obvious. So Wayne Lockwood, we haven't even got to the tip of, you know, we haven't even got to 1/10 or 1/20th of all the nonsense. So Wayne, thank you so very, very much. So we have a situation where I have showed you the two intelligence reports. I have showed you the two intelligence reports. So this is based not only on the Steele dossier and not only on a drunken conversation with Papadopoulos, but also on intelligence reports that I've listed. I've showed you the two disclaimers that say there's no evidence and we're not even confident that our facts are right. Okay, now we get to, I want to read you New York Times. How the Russia inquiry began. Now, this is supposed to be, in addition to the BuzzFeed publishing a dossier that's complete nonsense, that they even say, by the way, it's unverified. How is it that the FBI, CIA, NSA, ODNI, DHS come out with reports saying, oh, by the way, there's no evidence here. We're letting you know there are disclaimers, but you better trust us. Then BuzzFeed publishes the Steele dossier and says, oh, by the way, this is salacious and unverified, but you decide. No, it's called perpetuating a myth using the intelligence community or whatever officials, and then leaking information to the press for them to write articles, which then recirculate as evidence for FISA warrants, which is what Bruce Orr helped. We'll get to that in a little bit. We'll get to Bruce Orr in a little bit, but you need some understanding or, like, you know, background on all this. So here's the New York Times article, ladies and gentlemen. It's right here. So to the 900 people, tell all your friends, tell all your family, tell anyone who believes the conspiracy theory called Trump Russia that there's not one shred of evidence. And not only is there not one shred of evidence, but they tell you, the New York Times, the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, BuzzFeed tell you right to your face, we don't have any evidence, but this is what we think. And we're going to talk as if there's evidence. So here, how the Russia inquiry began, a campaign aid, drink, and talks of political dirt. This is December 30th, 2017. This is around the time that BuzzFeed publishes the dossier. This is months after Bruce Orr served as an intermediary for his wife, Nellie Orr, for Fusion GPS's Glenn Simpson, for Christopher Steele. And Bruce Orr knew Christopher Steele for years. Orr served as an intermediary to go ahead and spread the dossier that BuzzFeed is suing the DNC over now, because it's being sued by a Russian entrepreneur and Russian lawyers. We'll get to that Hill article in a second. But then when they say, well, it's not just the intelligence reports, well, what else is it? Well, it's their Steele dossier. Well, we'll get to that in a second. That's already been debunked by Lanny Davis the other day, saying, oh, he was never in Prague 13 times meeting with Russian intelligence officials, Michael Cohen. So that's already been debunked by Cohen's own attorney, who is a Clinton operative or Clinton ally. But now we get to the New York Times. So I'm actually trying to be a lot more organized than I usually am. But here, and this is what the New York Times and the Washington Post do, this is an example of overt propaganda. When you create an elaborate story that always suits Hillary Clinton. New York Times said, could Hillary Clinton win Texas? And then you never, hardly ever give any praise to Trump, even though there's a good economy and there's good things that he's done. But let's read. During a night of heavy drinking at an upscale London bar in May 2016, George Papadopoulos, a young foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign, made a startling revelation to Australia's top diplomat. Russia had political dirt on Hillary Clinton. Stop there. I don't care what Alexander Dumbo Downer said. I don't care what anyone said to Australia's top diplomat in Britain. You can chalk that up to gossip and hearsay or two drunk men. I want to know, how much did George Papadopoulos drink? I want to know, how much did Alexander Downer pay to get him drunk? What did they order? Did he slip anything? Did he slip something in Papadopoulos's drink? I want to know exactly how much Australian taxpayer money did it take for a drunken conversation. They go harken back to loose lips sink ships, that whole thing. About 3 weeks earlier, Mr. Papadopoulos had been told that Moscow had thousands of emails that would embarrass Mrs. Clinton, apparently stolen in an effort to damage her campaign. No. The DNC emails showed a $200 million fraud. You're not going to get a lot of people to talk about that on the left. They're going to talk about Russia influencing the election, as they conveniently forget that Hillary Clinton influenced her own election. The primary, Democratic primary. They cheated Bernie Sanders, who then dutifully went ahead, kissed the ring, and then became part of the same circus without missing a beat, without saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to probably fight for my voters to get their money back. No, it was, we got to stop Trump. And then Bernie perpetuated the Russia myth. Gee, thanks. Bernie never said anything about the DNC emails. Gee, thanks. Bernie never defended Julian Assange. You know who did? Rand Paul. Again, Bernie Sanders never defended Julian Assange. Without Julian Assange, Bernie Sanders would never have known that he was cheated. The extent of the cheating. But that's okay, Bernie. We have Rand Paul representing for Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. Julian Assange should be free. And part of the propaganda was that Russia wanted voters to vote third party, which Bernie essentially, when he props up the whole Russia did this and Russia did that, and about 5 or 6 embarrassing tweets from Bernie Sanders. The actual propaganda is that Russia wanted people to vote for Bernie because, oh my God, Bernie was a third-party candidate, essentially. Or that he just wasn't viable, even though I was writing, which is what people say now, that not only was Hillary Clinton unelectable, and I stated that in 2015, but that Bernie won a general election. At that point, he did. I'm glad Trump won, in hindsight. But united Bernie Sanders, the Democrats would have won. United. I'm talking about Bernie Sanders united with that passion, because it wasn't hatred for Trump that binded Bernie voters. Bernie voters eventually, like myself, went to Trump. A lot of Bernie voters. But anyway, about 3 weeks earlier, I'm glad that people, like today, I got a little debate with a bunch of friends of mine. They're like, oh, how you, and I'm like, look, you know what? You changed the system with Trump. If you couldn't change the system with Bernie, you change the system in a different way with Trump. At least you get the ball rolling with Kim Jong-un. And it's not perfect. There are road speed bumps, but at least you get the ball rolling. And Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in of South Korea are, they hug and they've shaken hands. But at least there's a good economy. At least Trump is cleaning up a corrupt intelligence community. But you can't go ahead and get people to say anything good about Trump, because it's like almost against their religion. Like Max Kellerman, a guy I respect, and Stephen A. Smith. I listen to them. I think they're great. But they hate Trump for no reason. They can't get, if the standard by which you judge Trump is simply his tweets and his mannerisms, then what about Obama bombing Libya and destroying Libya, sending soldiers to Yemen, getting us into the Yemen conflict? What about Standing Rock under President Obama, Max Kellerman? What about the Flint water crisis? What about Dylan Roof? What about all the pipelines that were built, if you so hate Trump's climate change policy? Oil boomed under Obama. Drones also flew around the world. You're talking about a person in President Obama, who helped destroy an African nation in Libya. Not one word from all the people who just hate Trump on moral grounds. Give me a break. But that's a whole other story. That's a whole other story. It's not, I don't think that people should be forced to like. I don't think that people should be forced to like Trump. You don't have to like him. But if you dislike him, use the same standard to evaluate Obama. That's all I'm saying. Use the same standard. Obama's foreign policy was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Forget about just Benghazi. You're talking about 20% of U.S. uranium capacity to Putin. And oh, by the way, it's been debunked, but it hasn't been debunked. Because even in the Snopes article, it says that Obama could have vetoed the sale. Why didn't he veto the sale? Why didn't he veto the sale? Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith and everyone who hates Trump, who thinks he's, Russian, bot or whatever. Evaluate Trump the way you evaluate Obama, and suddenly Trump is a lot better of a president. But let's just go ahead and continue. So they're pushing a McCarthy era, the Democratic Party pushes a McCarthy era myth. During a night of heavy drinking. Okay, you drink too much alcohol. More people get into arguments. More people say things they don't mean. More people become belligerent from alcohol than anything else. Even though I don't partake myself, I don't smoke marijuana, but I'd much rather be around people who are smoking marijuana than people who are drinking, forever. Because when you're with a bunch of guys or another guy or whatever who's drinking a lot, and then you get into a political conversation, it doesn't end well. It very rarely ends well unless you agree with the person. Tree climbing. LOL, half of Congress would qualify for witness protection. Witless protection. Tree climbing. Thank you. Exactly how much Papadopoulos, and then they say, well, exactly how much Mr. Papadopoulos said that night at the Kensington Wine Room in Australian. Okay, so Kensington Wine Rooms, just for the Australians who watch my channel, because I do know I have Australians who watch my channel. Do you want to know where your Australian taxpayer dollars are going? Well, let me tell you. Where they're going, okay? Well, let me tell you where they're going. Okay, let's just go to the Kensington Wine Room. Okay. How much? How much is a little bubbly? Huh? What do I have to do? Sell my soul to the devil to get the menu here? Where's the menu? Menu. Ah, the wine menu. I'd like to download the wine list. Okay, so you're dealing with, in terms of dollars. Let's look at this. In terms of dollars, You're spending some money. I'm not going to give you the exact amount, but I'm looking here. Well, look at this. Just one glass. Okay, so it's, and then you get mixed drinks, then you get food. So it's not cheap. It's an, a fine dining establishment. Whatever. The point is, Australian tax dollars were racked up. No problem. All to go ahead and loosen the lips of Mr. Papadopoulos, who said things that were irrelevant to any investigation, because investigations are first need a crime to take place. It is not a crime to talk about Hillary Clinton's deleted emails. Clinton's emails were on a server in her basement. Servers. If her emails were floating around the world, that was her problem. It was not Trump's problem. I wish Trump actually coordinated the Trump Jr. meeting at Trump Tower. That would have been fantastic. Why? Because it still would have been Hillary Clinton deserving of Espionage Act indictments, not Trump or Trump Jr. colluding with the Russians. Why? Because Natalia Veselnitskaya met before and after with Fusion GBS's Glenn Simpson, and she was allowed into the country by Loretta Lynch and Obama's DOJ. She was given a special visa. So don't say the Russians as if it was Vladimir Putin who met with Trump Jr., because Vladimir Putin met with Bill Clinton. Vladimir Putin met with Bill Clinton, according to Newsweek. So I gave you the ODNI and DHS reports. I gave you, and they both have warranty disclaimers that state don't really place too much emphasis on anything that's written there. Then I gave you the clip that says John Brennan. Well, John, I'm not into evidence. I'm into intelligence. There shouldn't be a difference between intelligence and evidence. And the difference should be just, nominal or, barely a difference. I understand you need some, you can work with gossip and hearsay if you have a mountain of evidence. Fine. You can work with sources if you have a mountain of evidence. But you need evidence for intelligence to even work out. You can't just go ahead and overtly lie to the American people. Signals intelligence, when you monitor and you interpret radar signals or intercept communication, and that is intercept encrypted conversations. That should be combined with evidence. So anyway, that conversation with Papadopoulos was a conversation about something that wasn't even a crime to begin with. It is not a crime to find out about the extent of Hillary Clinton's criminal behavior regarding her emails. And Trump Jr. did nothing wrong trying to find out about Clinton's emails with a person who was not linked to Russian intelligence. Natalia Veselnitskaya has never been linked to Russian intelligence, and if she was, Loretta Lynch and President Obama should go ahead and testify why they allowed a person with Russian intelligence to have a special visa, because she did. But let's go ahead now. Steele Dossier. So before we get to Bruce Orr, BuzzFeed, Steele Dossier. This is here, Business Insider. BuzzFeed published 35 pages of damning, unverified claims against Trump. This is Business Insider. Well, how can it be damning if it's unverified? Even Business Insider, because they're, how can it be damning yet also unverified? How does that work? Mike Sherman, HA, keep going. You're running on all cylinders. Thank you, Mike Sherman. I'm trying to go ahead and hit this one out of the park because it's important for all my viewers and it's important for everyone here to have kind of a primer on all this nonsense. So here's the Business Insider article with a very, very unique title. Mike Sherman, thank you so very, very, very much. Thank you, Mike Sherman. That's the Business Insider article. Lawrence F. The investigation was never for the purpose of the impeachment of our president. It is solely to pass suspicious business dealings regarding Trump family onto the Southern District of New York. I mean, you're right about the Southern District. So what they're doing is they're trying some way to hurt Trump. I mean, that's true. Lawrence F., it's aimed to destroy his family. The RICO laws can confiscate all monies in business transactions from the time the crime was committed. Absolutely. Which and you bring up a great point, Lawrence F. I think those RICO laws are going to be used against the Clinton Foundation because they actually did commit crimes. In terms of Trump, I'm not sure that he committed any crimes. They got the CFO, the CFO, I think, of the Trump Foundation. I don't know of any crimes he committed. They're already assuming crimes, yet the Stormy, McDougal, National Enquirer, Michael Cohen, Avenatti, none of the things panned out. Papadopoulos, the ODNI report, the DHS report, the BuzzFeed, nothing panned out. But you're 100% right, Lawrence F. They're trying to go ahead, and what they're trying to say is, well, Trump can't pardon anybody from state crimes. So, and I see you're 100% right about that. Blake Foster, why do you still entertain your Bernie vision? Well, I don't anymore. I pretty much jettisoned I just think he's a good human being. What do you think would be better under Bernie as opposed to Trump right now? Blake, I do agree with you. I'd rather have Trump for a number of reasons, primarily because he's cleaning up the FBI. I think he'd have a better foreign policy. The economy is good. I'm not sure the economy would be as good under Bernie. Do you really think he didn't know the DNC was siphoning his money to HRC? That I'm not sure, Blake. Blake Foster, thank you so very, very much. But I don't know if he knew, but he didn't do anything about it. So that's, I don't know if he knew, but he didn't do anything about it. So I agree with you on that. And Blake, I agree with you. I'd rather have Trump than Bernie. And I'll tell that to anybody. And I agree with you. Max Morrow drove 2,000 miles up the West Coast and back November 2016. Trump's 2016 signs every few feet. One Hillary for President 2016 sign. Max Morrow, Max, you brought up a great point. America is bigger than New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco. America is bigger than that. To Democrats, America is just that. So I gave you so thank you, Max, for always supporting the channel. And Lawrence, thank you. And Mike Sherman, thank you. And Blake Foster, thank you. Ethan Long, you think it was a witch hunt or something? Exactly. To the 1,001 people. Let's get to the actual Steele dossier. And now we're getting closer to Bruce Orr. So I explained, ladies and gentlemen, this is a primer you should share with everyone. I explained how ridiculous the intelligence reports are. I gave you the links to them. There's no evidence and there are disclaimers. I explained that John Brennan stated he doesn't do evidence, he does intelligence. That's like your doctor saying, I don't do medicine, I do potions. It's complete gaslighting, newspeak, Orwellian verbal refuse propaganda. John Brennan states with confidence, with such pride, I don't do evidence. I don't do evidence. I do intelligence. Honey, why is your ex calling you in the middle of the night? Babe, sweetheart, I don't do evidence. I do intelligence. It's like, that's not going to get you out of that. Anyway, These reports allege Trump has deep ties to Russia. These reports, so BuzzFeed publishes, these reports allege. Why would I go ahead? A dossier compiled by a person who has claimed to be a former British intelligence official alleges Russia has compromised information on Trump. Okay, then you should never in journalism, never, ever, ever publish. The allegations are unverified and the report contains errors. The allegations are unverified and the report contains errors. You have intelligence community reports, two of them, ODNI and DHS, that are that have confidence levels where they say don't trust the confidence level. They might not be rooted in fact. You have a drunken conversation in a London bar that is supposed to be viewed as evidence. Then you have a Steele Dossier where it says the allegations are unverified. The report contains errors. You combine that with the DNC not giving its servers to the FBI. You combine that with WikiLeaks and Trump saying we had nothing to do with Russia, and Putin saying he's like laughing at us. Didn't do anything. You have zero evidence of anything. The only evidence you have states that there's no evidence. Again, the evidence the left has overtly states that there's no evidence of anything. It was a complete and utter fabrication and cover-up. The evidence of Clinton's crimes are overwhelming. So you have the allegations are unverified and the report contains errors. Okay. Now you go BuzzFeed suing DNC. Thank you, Max Morrow, again. To the 1,013 people. BuzzFeed's, there's some great journalists there, but BuzzFeed is suing the DNC over info tied to Trump dossier. This is The Hill. BuzzFeed is suing the Democratic National Committee to get the committee to turn over information related to the so-called Steele Dossier. You know what you should do if you're a publication? Oh, I don't know, if you're a journalist. You probably should get the information before you publish it. You probably should go ahead and get the information before you actually publish it, so you don't get other people online, on YouTube, at MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, all frothing at the mouth and frenzied to go ahead and say that Trump was took the golden showers from people. Okay? Because when you combine that with the lack of evidence, the lack of evidence from the ODNI DHS reports, the lack of anything from a drunken conversation about something that's not a crime. It's not a crime, by the way, to find out about Clinton's emails. Not a crime. She committed a crime. Not a crime to find out about how Al Capone broke into a bank or whatever. Not a crime. Not a crime. Not a crime at all. Not a crime. Not a crime. The crime is actually breaking into the bank. The crime is actually using a server outside the United States government and transferring top secret intelligence onto a basement server. That's the crime. You can get drunk. Don't do it. Don't do it, but you can get drunk tonight and talk to your wife or your husband about how Hillary Clinton, read my book and get drunk. But her top secret emails, go ahead. Get drunk. But her top secret emails on Amazon, $3.99 is Kindle. Over 115 five-star reviews. People are still buying it. But her deleted emails, too, give you 90%, 85% of everything you need to know. I wrote it in 2017. Tree climbing. Mitch says college loans are corrupt. Hidden costs. Tree climbing, thank you. BuzzFeed is suing the Democratic National Committee to get the committee to turn over information related to the so-called Steele Dossier. In an effort to bolster its defense in a lawsuit related to the dossier, the news outlet is facing a lawsuit from Alexei Gubarev, a Russian businessman who claims he was libeled. The document, funded in part by DNC and Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. The document, funded partly by the DNC and Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. The document You should have that on continual loop. Replay what I'm about to say 30 times. The document, funded partly by the DNC and Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, contains explosive and in some cases unverified. Actually, how about in most cases, in my view, unverified allegations about President Trump's ties to Russia. They never said President Trump hacking the DNC with Russia's help. Everything has been hidden under semantic jungle, a semantic black hole, a semantic web. Ties to Russia, Russia meddling, the most ambiguous, all-encompassing words because they don't even know what Trump could have done. Did he pay Russian hackers while he was getting urinated on in a Moscow hotel room? Is there an actual check? Is there an actual check where it's all where the, like the stains? Oh my God, let's do the DNA sampling on the check. They have nothing. They've always had nothing. And that's it. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. BuzzFeed is arguing that the DNC has information that could link Gubarev to the 2016 Russian hack into the committee's servers. Well, maybe BuzzFeed, you know, it doesn't matter because the people, if they even know who I am at BuzzFeed, because I know there are people at the Daily Beast, and there are people at other places who know who I am, who think of Vox, who think I'm crazy. And meanwhile, I've been right on pretty much everything. They've been wrong on pretty much everything. But here's a little news flash to help you. Not that you would ever listen to me, ever. Why am I even helping you? Okay, the DNC wasn't hacked. Sorry to tell you. Okay, I'm not going to go into that. DNC was not hacked. We know because there's no evidence. We also know because the DNC never gave its computer servers to the FBI or the United States government. We also know because CrowdStrike was outsourced by the DNC to corroborate its claims. We also know because the ODNI DHS reports state confidence but not certainty in anything, including the DNC hack. Lord Sarad, how much money is the BS costing America? I think it's like over 20 million now. More than that. I mean, the Mueller probe cost about 20 to 30 million thus far. But I mean, you're just talking about the airwaves, and you know how many hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent on this nonsense. Mr. and Mrs. Trout Fishing at Hood Park. Mr. Trout Fishing at Hood Park. Hello. The only evidence of a crime is that there is no evidence. Hilarious. Made me laugh out loud. It's such a draining thing to try and make sense of this. But Stormy. Sigh. Hashtag Internet Bill of Rights. Trout Fishing at Hood Park. You are awesome. And thank you so very much. As always, you're awesome. So then we have, before we get to Bruce Orr, because I've spent a whole hour, almost an hour on this, and I have to give you the background. So then we get to the wonderful Mother Jones journalist, Mother Jones journalist, and Yahoo journalists. Politico. Top official linked to reporter who broke Trump dossier. Top official linked to reporter. James Baker, the FBI's recently reassigned general counsel, was in touch with David Corn of the Mother Jones in the fall of 2016. Why? Why was anyone in touch with anyone at Mother Jones? Mother Jones is to the way to the left of Vox, which is so far up Debbie Wasserman Schultz's frizzy hair that they basically could be writing public relations releases for the Democratic Party. James Baker, the FBI's recently reassigned general counsel, was in touch with David Corn of Mother Jones. Why? This is the Politico article. This is the Politico article. Why was a Mother Jones journalist linked to? So you have BuzzFeed with the salacious, unverified report. They're suing the DNC. Then you have House Republicans are investigating contact between the FBI's top lawyer and a Mother Jones reporter. That's bizarre. Why didn't the FBI contact a Breitbart reporter? Why didn't the FBI contact a Daily Caller reporter? Why didn't the FBI contact a Wall Street Journal reporter? Why didn't the FBI contact a Fox reporter? Oh, let's not accuse anyone of bias. House Republicans are investigating contact between the FBI's top lawyer and a Mother Jones reporter in the weeks before the left-leaning outlet broke the first news story about the existence of a disputed dossier alleging ties between President Trump and the Kremlin. The GOP sources said the documents made available recently to lawmakers by the Department of Justice reveal that James Baker, the FBI's general counsel, communicated with Mother Jones reporter David Corn in the weeks leading up to the November 2016 election. Well, surely that has nothing to do with any of the reporting. Oh, yes, it does. Corn was the first to report the existence of a dossier on October 31st. What? That's weird. That's weird. Because we had New York Times reporter Stupping to get stories. What's going on here? Corn was the first to report the existence. Let's click on the report. A veteran spy. Oh, great. I'm trying in the middle of my shtick, I did stupid advertising. A veteran spy has given the FBI information alleging Russian operation to cultivate Donald Trump. Cultivation. Oh my God, they're cultivating Trump. They're cultivating? Has the Bureau investigated this material? Why ask the question when you know the answer? A veteran spy. Here, I'll fix it for you, Mother Jones. A veteran spy who was paid by Hillary Clinton has given the FBI complete gossip and hearsay alleging a Russian operative. Oh, by the way, BuzzFeed eventually sued the DNC for all of this, and they're being sued because they published the unverified nonsense garbage. Oh, and by the way, Lanny Davis, my client was never in Prague. I intentionally, unintentionally, by mistake, on purpose, but by mistake, spoke to deceive millions, and yet now I'm setting the record straight, and I take full responsibility. Do you think millions are deceived? Good. I take full responsibility of everything. I'm sorry. I need to own my mistakes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I told people that Michael Cohen had information about the Trump Jr. meeting, but he doesn't actually. And I told people, well, this happens to be the truth. Michael Cohen was never in Prague. Wah, wah, wah. So Michael Cohen plea deal leads to absolutely positively nothing. And Bradley Smith, the biggest letdown of all time. It's like the opposite of Viagra with these people. If you could take a pill to ensure that the opposite of Viagra takes place, that's the Democratic Party. They found out recently that, by the way, not only was Michael Cohen never in Prague, not only does he not know anything about the Trump Tower meeting, but by the way, Bradley Smith, former head of the Federal Election Commission, wrote that campaign money or personal money, to Stormy or McDougal, the National Enquirer, aren't campaign violations. So now what? Oh, we're off to the Southern District. Yet another attempt to hurt Trump. 10, 15 times they tried to go ahead and hurt Trump, say he did this, he did that, didn't work, not true, didn't work, not true, didn't work. Now we're at the Southern District. Surely the public record alone shows that Clinton committed numerous crimes with legal statutes. But anyway, David Kaplan, H.A. Goodman, with a few real journalists on the planet. Thank you, David Kaplan. Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, David, very much. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you, David. So, Mother Jones, what a coinky-dink. What a coinky-dink. Total coincidence. Publishes an article after contact with FBI sources. That's bizarre. Certainly the FBI didn't go ahead and use a Mother Jones article or any other articles in the press to renew FISA warrants. So what we learned from Bruce Orr today, and what we already knew, is that the FBI had a slew, had a stable, had a whole gaggle, had a bunch of reporters that it fed information to. Corn was only one of them. There's also, I think, Michael Isikoff. Hold on one second. FBI told FISA court Steele wasn't source of report used to justify surveillance teams. So instead, the FBI suggested to the court the September 2016 article by Michael Isikoff was independent corroboration of the salacious, unverified allegation against Trump. Okay? But that's ridiculous. Why? Because you can't just go ahead. Yahoo News' Michael Isikoff describes crucial meeting cited in Nunes memo. Isikoff said he was introduced to Steele by Glenn Simpson. Why would Isikoff be introduced to anyone? Why would Corn be working or contacting the FBI, or the FBI contacting Corn and Mother Jones? The memo, which was released Friday after it declassified, says the September 2016 article by Isikoff was cited extensively in the FBI application. For Carter Page, U.S. intel official probes ties between Trump advisor and Kremlin. Yet another thing that had no bearing in any evidence at all. The Yahtzee. This is probably the world's most sloppy cover-up attempt, and still the whole world is playing along, making Trump the villain. The size of this must be beyond anyone's comprehension. The Yahtzee, thank you so very, very much, as always. And the size is beyond anyone's comprehension because the danger to national security from Hillary Clinton's server is beyond comprehension. It's beyond comprehension. The Yahtzee, as always, thank you so very much for your support, always. Karen Lewinsky, you make my day every day. I take your words like medicine. Thank you, Karen. It means a great deal to me, and I appreciate your support. And I appreciate you watching. Thank you, Karen, very much for watching. Thank you, and thank you for your kind words. William Tomlin, you are on fire tonight, bro. Spitting the truth to the limits of YouTube policy. You play a very important role. Drudge Report of this millennium. Thank you so very much, William. Thank you so very much, William Tomlin. Greatly, greatly appreciated. And in life, it's important to be appreciated, to be speaking to 931 people right now, going into my second hour. It is important to have, the William Tomlins, the Karen Lewinskys, the Yahtzees. I'm very thankful and blessed to be able to speak with the people who give me ideas, who give me, I have the most intelligent, most amusing, most hilarious, coolest live chat on YouTube. Because at the end of the day, this is public record. This is public record. The public record is a bunch of nonsense. So thank you, everyone. So Isikoff, let's just say that he wasn't, let's say that he didn't meet with, so I could be wrong that he met with FBI agents, but why did September 2016 article by Isikoff cited extensively? Why was an article cited? Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? They say oh, well, it's not the impetus for, well, the Steele dossier didn't start. Okay. Well, what started? Well, there was the drunken conversation. Well, that too is nonsense. Well, there was the ODNI report. Well, they say that there's no evidence that. Well, there was the DHS report. Well, there's both disclaimers, warranty disclaimers. Well, there's Carter Page. Yeah, that there was no evidence of anything he did wrong. In fact, he's been with he's never been charged with a crime, so they don't even know a crime. They just wanted to investigate him. Republicans never, ever, ever went ahead and paid for anything to do with the dossier. And thank you, Sean. For this Newsweek link. Bruce Orr had poor memory. Wow. About GOP. So Bruce Orr had, so we'll get to Bruce Orr. A top Justice Department official accused of bias against President Trump. And remember, the others accused of bias, James Comey, Peter Strzok, Andrew McCabe, fired. So no, sorry, Comey, McCabe, Strzok, fired. A top Justice Department official accused of bias against President Donald Trump at the FBI and Department of Justice displayed a poor memory while answering questions from House investigators today, in a closed-door hearing. So who gave... Thank you, Sean, for that link. Who gave the information to the FBI? Well, I think, let's listen to...
Different lines of question.
This is Mark Meadows. This is today.
Sarah, and I think that there are three different lines of questioning. One, Congress Isa talked about it. Will Bruce Orr verify what we already know? One of the interesting things is that we have evidence that would suggest that FBI informants were told that there was no collusion, and yet it seemed to be ignored. So we're going to ask Bruce Orr about that. Additionally, when you have Christopher Steele and Nellie Orr being paid tens of thousands, and in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars to put forth a false dossier, why would they rely so much on those two witnesses and ignore others? So there's about 60 plus questions that I have.
And of those questions, the contradictions. So Scott Bigler, gotta love how the FBI uses news reports that they leak to spy, yet they ignore the IGIC report that Chinese got CC'd on all of Hillary's emails. Exactly. Exactly, Scott Bigler. You say things more concise than I do. All of her emails, and I explained about her top secret emails, but her deleted emails. And Sean, thank you again for the Newsweek link. Bruce Orr conveniently forgot his memory. Oh, goodness. But James Comey and Peter Strzok stated that the Steele Dossier wasn't as important, it was only part of the overall investigation. Bruce Orr's testimony today explained that the Steele Dossier was the biggest, if not one of the biggest part, and one of the main reasons why they went ahead and basically probed and investigated everyone around Trump. So James Comey and Peter Strzok were contradicted not only on those points, but a whole bunch of other points. Let's look at Paul Sperry. Lindsey Graham said something very interesting today also. He said, imagine if the tables were turned. Imagine if the FBI under Trump went ahead and bought a dossier to hurt Hillary. Oh, my God. Sean Stein, I agree with you 100%. Judicial Watch is probably the most important, I guess, organization. When the whole thing comes crashing down, it'll be Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch. Hillary crony Lanny Davis says he was the source for CNN's Trump Tower story. So Paul Sperry. Breaking, FBI former Director James Comey gave inconsistent statements under oath before Senator Chuck Grassley's Judiciary Committee regarding how the FBI processed the Wiener laptop email evidence. So the evidence is on the Clinton criminal side. The evidence shows that Clinton committed crimes. The evidence shows that there's no evidence for Trump. That's what the evidence shows. The public record shows that Trump, well, there's no evidence for Trump doing anything. They're really, 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 really suspicious. Well, but you don't have to be suspicious with Clinton. She actually did transfer top secret and special access program intelligence. So let's go ahead. Jim Jordan.
Congressman Jordan? I don't know if it's improper, but I want to know who what DOJ knew. And certainly it looks like he continued to meet with Mr. Steele after the FBI terminated their relationship with Mr. Steele.
Did Mr. Orr break the law when he took actions that financially benefited his wife, Nellie Orr, who worked for Fusion GPS?
Oh, I don't know, but the fundamentals don't change. The fact that top Department of Justice official's wife is working for the firm the Clintons hired to put together the dossier, and then the FBI uses the dossier that they're getting from Bruce Orr. Peter Strzok told us that, to then go get the warrant to spy on the Trump campaign. So that's a big concern. Who at DOJ knew that? Sally Yates know what was going on? I mean, I don't know.
Mr. Deplorable, HRC colluded with China. That's where she got all the Mao pantsuits. Yes. And Brian Murphy, thank you so very much. It's true, but see, the thing is, the mainstream, they don't. If they read, see, they can't read. CNN can't possibly read from the actual ODNI and DHS reports because it completely undermines CNN's. So they're just going ahead and they're working on suspicion. They're saying, well, you're suspicious of Clinton. We're suspicious of Trump. Yeah, but we have evidence. The actual inspector general said, Charles McAuliffe said that China hacked her emails. There's the evidence. There's evidence that China hacked her emails. There's the evidence. And it's pretty much now common knowledge that all of this was just set up. They had no evidence, and what they did was simply fabricate a story based on suspicion. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everyone. What took place was very simple. And it's just very, very, very simple. Hillary Clinton is the most corrupt politician, perhaps the most corrupt politician, one of the most, if not the most, in U.S. history. Okay? In U.S. history, there's never been a politician, there's never been anyone who set up this, let's say before email, if they could go ahead and try to, there's never been someone who set up a channel of communication outside the United States government and funneled the nation's highest secrets onto that little, whether it was a post office box or a server. What she did was an egregious threat to national security. And I've never stopped talking about it. I've written about it in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon. I was on MSNBC, CNN, RT. I was on, different shows on YouTube. I wrote about her top secret emails, about her deleted emails. Every YouTube segment I do, it's one of the most egregious crimes that went, they completely covered it up. Peter Strzok put Andrew McCabe, James Comey, Andrew McCabe, and Peter Strzok, and others, especially John Brennan, especially James Clapper, put their political considerations above national security. It is national security to have classified, and top secret and special access program intelligence hacked by the world. If you have somebody that corrupt and criminal, that person should never, ever, ever be anywhere near the White House. So thank God Clinton didn't win. Trump saved us from a Clinton nightmare. Scandal is what they have for breakfast, the Clintons. Like, they can't go through like a year in the spotlight without some kind of insane scandal because they're always breaking the law. And they always find some possible way to get out of it. But the thing is, now Hillary Clinton Foundation donations have dried up, although people still give money. But there's nobody there to protect Clinton. Well, Sessions, you could say, is dragging his feet. But whether it's Sessions or whether it's someone else, Trump's going to go 8 years. And this email investigation is never going to end. You had Bruce Ort today explaining that he was the intermediary, that he was setting up a line of communication between the FBI and Fusion GPS, Christopher Steele. James Comey and Peter Strzok they always stated that, well, it was very important and nobody was just feeding us the information. But, so that contradicts, Bruce Orr contradicted Peter Strzok. Well, Peter Strzok's insurance policy, we have to stop Trump, is all a part of this. When Peter Strzok says, well, no, I have no bias, Everyone, Nellie Orr, Bruce Orr, Andrew McCabe, James Comey, Peter Strzok, John Brennan, James Clapper, all of these people not only had bias, they worked overtime to frame Trump. Hillary Clinton had the names of CIA agents on her server, almost certainly, well, it was certainly hacked by China. And instead of doing their job, they simply covered it up and they fabricated. So Clinton had real crimes. Trump didn't have real crimes. There were no crimes with Trump except fabricated crimes. And now they're on an expedition like this, wild goose chase to go ahead and find something. So let's just go real quickly. Mark Meadows. Well, we've learned new information suggesting our suspicions true. FBI, DOJ have previously leaked info to the press and then used those same press reports as a separate source to justify FISAs. Unreal. Tomorrow's Bruce Orr interview even more critical. Bruce Orr is creating a link for us between people who had animus, who were in fact desperate to stop candidate Trump from becoming president. Issa told Fox, Daryl Issa. So this is contrary to what Strzok and Comey stated. Orr indeed passed off information from Steele to the FBI and was reportedly still in contact with Steele even after the FBI had severed ties due to Steele's leaking of information to the media. But the FBI was leaking information to the media as they cut ties with Steele. So everything as well will go ahead and kind of try to show that we're doing things the right way, while at the same time continue to do what we've should never have started doing in the first place. The FBI improperly used Steele's dossier in order to obtain a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrant. Strzok and Comey say that they followed every procedure for the FISA warrant, when in reality, they didn't mention that Bruce Orr was the go-between, the back channel, whatever you want to call it. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you found this segment interesting and informative, because it pretty much shows everything you need to know regarding at least the genesis of all of this nonsense. Clinton will eventually get charged with a crime. It's not even debatable. Not even debatable. She'll get charged with a crime. It's just a matter of when. Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone, for your kind words. Thank you so very, very much. I will be back in a couple hours or so. You are all absolutely wonderful. 881 people. Hit subscribe right now. Share this segment everywhere. This is a very, very important segment. And if anything, this segment shows that there's no evidence for anything. For anything. The evidence shows that there's no evidence against Trump. The evidence shows that Clinton committed crimes linked to legal statutes, U.S. Code 793F, at least. Thank you so very much. God bless. I will see you all very soon. To my super chat, you give me every incentive to keep rocking these live streams. This has been a great live stream, and thank you so very much for your support.